tuning back into Parallel Dimensions. So for this week, we are going to be tackling the entirety of the fuel system, including the fuel line, the gas tank, the sending unit, and the fuel pump. So that ought to be fun. Okay, so I've been trying to flush out the fuel lines. I've been trying to include you as much as possible, but it's kind of difficult sometimes. So I've just been shooting carb cleaner that way to the front, and then from the front this way, letting it drip out here. The front came clean first. Bunch of nasty orange gas, horse shit, and been blowing carb cleaner that way, you know, using a tube and holding it up here. I set it overnight so that it would just kind of seep down in. And then this morning, got up, came out and looked, and she did loosen up and come a little bit clean. There was a bunch of stuff like this, just like little black gas earwax like stuff that came out of there, and I believe we're free. So as you saw, I linked up the front to the rear, and now just to double check, I think what I'll do is, see that red line, that's my gas can. Well, she's sitting down there now, sitting down there. I think I'll just connect that to the gas line in question here, and I'll let gravity do the trick, and I'll put a bowl underneath, and we'll see the yuckiness that comes out of it. And it should be nasty stuff. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna connect gas to it and see if it's free flowing. We got a nice cleanish bucket here. I'm gonna sit underneath here, and we're gonna see what it comes out. Okay, so I have removed the line from my gas tank on the passenger seat from the carburetor and attached it to the fuel line. So let's set this sucker up. Let's set it way up here, so we got a good amount coming through. Let gravity do its thing. See if we got anything coming out here yet. Yeah, it's coming. Let's take a peek. That looks clean. Hold on, let me stop this madness. Put it down here. The gravity ain't doing its thing no more. All right. Well, we got a little mess. Okay, well. Let's take a peek. Yeah. All right. It's a lot better than I would have thought. In fact, I may just run that through again, yeah, you can see a little stuff in there. Alright, well, that's good news. Was plugged, now is not plugged. So now, basically, I need to figure out if this fuel pump is working. And if you remember what I said about stuff in the trunk, there are hella fuel pump parts in the trunk. Somewhere. Yeah, right here. That's some carburetor that doesn't go to that. That's a diaphragm that's nasty that might go to this fuel pump. This definitely used to go to this fuel pump. That's a piece of it. Another diaphragm. So somebody, oh, and another. Boy howdy. Well, we got parts, if nothing else. But basically what this tells me is that somebody's been in here messing with it. And best case scenario is that they did their job. So that big sucker right there, I need to basically get the engine running and connect an inlet and an outlet. I think I'm just gonna do it to my gas tank that's sitting in there and see if it's doing stuff. If it's intaking and outputting, then I'll connect it to the carb. If not, we're gonna have to take it off and rehab it somehow. I'll probably have to rebuild it or whatever, but we'll see. You ready, buddy? So the idea here is the intake portion that would ordinarily come from the tank that is going to this gas tank, and assuming it functions, it should shoot towards the output through this tube, and I'm gonna dump it in this bucket and we're gonna see if it functions. And I'm just gonna have to connect this tube that goes to the carburetor. I'll probably set that guy up here on the fender, you know, all safe and sound, and get her started and see if she is pumping fluid. I sure hope so. I don't want to have to rebuild that strange thing. Let's see what happens. Well, that's not good. Absolutely nothing. So that basically means we have to take the fuel pump off. Oh well. Well, the old fuel pumpulator had to come off. As you saw, it wasn't doing fuel pump things. And boy, is she a big boy. Usually, they're from here down. On a Packard, this is its own vacuum pump for running the windshield wipers, actually. That way it doesn't have to run off manifold vacuum, which is pretty cool. So we'll check that out. But I need to start wrenching and see what we can see. What is this? Alright, whatever. Well, that looks pretty good. That seems completely fine. Well, these valves seem to be working fine. That one seems to be stuck. Maybe I didn't prime it right. Maybe it's completely fine. And I'm doing all this for nothing. Okay. Am I missing something? I don't think so. There we go. Yeah. You see in there, it's already, that diaphragm is already screwed. Yeah, should have been used. Dirty. But, yeah, this diaphragm is not worthy. So I gotta find another one of those. Well, here's one of the ones out of the trunk, and it's got sort of a weird end on it. So maybe you have to push and twist, I'm guessing? I don't know. So, the fuel pump seemingly is fine, other than the fuel portion, the diaphragm, that moves the fuel. The upper portion, because it's dual-sided, is fine. It just actuates the windshield wipers, and all the little valves and everything inside of it, they're newish. They're not original. Somebody's been in here. I may take them out and clean them. At any rate, what I need is a diaphragm, and what I have available is not great. As you can see, they both suck. And so what I obtained is a rubber variant, I guess you'd say, called Vital, and it's ethanol resistant, because if any of you guys are old car dudes out there, there's all this stuff that everybody says about ethanol ruining old car parts and the rubber and the gaskets, and you're gonna have to go through your whole car, blah 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 blah. At any rate, rather than spend like $100 for a Packard fuel pump rebuild kit for just, you know, some rubber, some gaskets, you know, maybe these guys, which I don't need, you know, and springs and stuff, I spent, I don't know, 20 bucks on this. I don't remember where I got it. It was online, called Vital. Y'all can figure it out. And I have enough to do other things with it, so that will be interesting. What I have to do now is pick one of these to take apart. And they're both peened, meaning the metal has been stuck through and hammered down in order to pinch the plates together. And I gotta pick one of these. And so I kind of wire wheeled this one off, and I don't know if it comes through on camera, but it looks a little copperish, which is interesting. But I'm going to take them both apart and get that out of there so that we can make a brand new diaphragm, which will go there. Okay, now that they're apart, we have to make our diaphragm. And one thing I've been thinking about was that we have to allow for this sort of deflection, since what we're using is flat, and the ones you can buy I think have this deflection, but we're going to allow for that, and I'll show you how. So what we've done thus far is pick the set that we're going to use and just wire wheeled them clean, the top and the bottom clamp portion, we'll say, and then used the top to trace around it. Now then, the thing I want, and oh well, you can see I used a pencil and a straight edge to locate the center for our center pin. And there's another reason I did that, and that is that, okay, these old, you can see how there's kind of a step. We're going to refer that to that as deflection, and you can see that in this one as well. And so in order to do that here so that we don't put undue stress on our new material. You can see where I've marked the holes. And kind of the plan for this is to just move, like I might use this as a punch. It's kind of the idea, because drilling it seems sketchy. But anyway, I'm gonna do it a hole's width away, and then you see the outside diameter there. I'm also gonna move that out about a hole's width away so that it's oversized and we don't put undue stress, because that thing is gonna be jacking back and forth, hopefully for the life of this car, however long it lasts, at any rate. Just trying to be conscious of that and engineer this thing in a way that works for our purposes. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started cutting that out and punching the holes, punch the center hole, and throw that thing back together and get her peened together, and then we can start assembly. So here we go. Alright, so we got it cut out. You can see I cut it about a hole's width outside of the holes, and also maybe, I'm probably standing in the way. I don't know if you can see the dots, but the holes are about a hole's width out, and got the center good to go. So next step is I want to check if I can use this as it is, or if I have to weld on the end of it to build up the metal in order to peen the plates together. So let's see where we're at. So let's put one on. Oh, done like that. Hold on, let me get a, let's see here, hold on. Okay, got her through there. Next would be this sucker, and then finally our last one here. Probably off center or off camera a little bit. Apologize. Something fell. That's not great. Okay, so can you see that? She's sticking up just enough. I feel like I can peen that. Peen that and flop that over, and we have ourselves a new diaphragm. Okay, we got her clamped up. First thing I want to do is just make sure everything's snug, and smashed together. I'm just using a long socket. Get all the room we can, and then let's just start peening. Whoops. Folks, I think we have a new diaphragm. I'm super happy about that. Let's start assembly. Okay, the fuel portion is back together. I may or may not trim the excess around, but she's tightened down nice and tight and seals well, and it's time to put the windshield wiper diaphragm back on. And if you'll recall, I said it looked good, and it does look good. However, upon closer inspection, let's see here, it's definitely cracked, and I'm trying to focus you here. Might not focus. At any rate, it looks to me like it's a piece of cloth, if you can see. At any rate, it looks like a piece of cloth that is sandwiched in between some type of thin rubber or something. There are not actually holes through it, but I can't. I feel like the next guy would thank me for doing something about it. I could take it apart and just put that new fancy rubber that resists ethanol to it, but since it's only blowing and pushing air for the vacuum operated windshield wipers, I feel like it would be a waste of that material to do this, but I still feel like I should do something about it. And since all this top and bottom coat, whatever it is, this rubber, whatever it is there you go. You can see kind of the cloth in between. It's cracking away from it and therefore not going to seal. And I was looking around the shop here and thinking, what could I use other than that fancy stuff I have, which I could use, but I don't want to. But I still should do something. And I feel like the answer is rubber cement. All right, she is back together. That was a little tricky. Mostly getting the upper and lower diaphragms to connect to this arm here. That was super duper tricky. But she's together. Oh, and one thing I did learn was, if you recall before, I may or may not have showed you one of these. Thought this was a different kind because it's twisted like that. Through trial and error, trying to put the vacuum diaphragm in and hooking it to the arm. If you don't do it right, you twist it just like that. That's an oopsie somebody did. So this is another one of the upper air diaphragms. Anyway, sure you don't care, but next thing is, let's put this sucker on the car and test it. Okay, so now that we can be sure that we're actually pumping fuel and not just gravity feeding it. I don't know if you can see clear down in there. Yeah, you see the red one going to the intake. And yeah, so let me put you back in here. Sorry. There we go. There we go. Okay. Alright, pay attention here again. And I'm gonna preload the bowl just so it gets started. And we'll see if there's a big old air bubble right here, right now. And so if that moves forward, we have success. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Lots of air bubbles, lots of air bubbles, lots of air bubbles. Keep it going. Damn. Whoop. Well, it's shooting up, but it seems like it's falling back down. Maybe that's still, oh, that's just air. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. She's pulling finally from the tank. I can stop driving this thing with a gas can sitting next to me. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's such good news. Yes! What's up, guys? Coming back at you with the fuel system. So, if you'll recall, we were trying to rehab that old gas tank with the gallon of gasoline. Oops, a daisy. Nails and chain and sucker in there. A lot of shaking, and tried that a couple of times and was doing something, but not nearly enough, and that tank was just so horrible. I decided to go a different route. And that route was this guy. First thing you'll notice is she is smaller, and I don't really care. It's still a 16-gallon tank, and that's good enough for me. And so we'll have to mock it up and fit it, and you can see what we have to do here. Follow the hand. At any rate, got that for a steal of a deal on a certain late great Chevy website. It was on sale because it was an open box item. Has some scratches and a couple of dents, which I don't care about because I got that sucker for about $42 shipped. So I will take it. Compared to rehabbing that mess, that's a steal. Also, the sending unit was just erratic and crappy on this one, and fairly cheap on the same website for this guy. So that guy's still coming, should be here today or tomorrow. But anyway, gotta mock this sucker up and see where the filler neck might have to be run. Hopefully I can use that, but if not, I reckon I can fabricate something or scab something together. So here we go for the gas tank, and it can finally run on its own supply. It's important. Okay, so far we're in pretty good shape. As you can tell, she's a little loose, so I'm just gonna, I happen to have a 3/8 16 tap, and so I'm just gonna tap these as far up as it takes to tighten this sucker and clip off the rest. Beyond that, the fuel filler neck, there it is right there. You can see that divot in the bottom of the sheet metal there. Goes all the way up and out. So this sucker comes in, and trying to check it out, cut it off, and you can see why we're not using the gas tank. I hope that's coming up on camera, because in real life that looks incredible. There must be at least an 1/8 inch of coating of just whatever that is, man. Dirt and gas and crap. So we're gonna take this adapter that I got. You can see where I've marked it with a Sharpie. Put that sucker right there, so it's peeking over the frame. And then, so this sucker is gonna meet up with that. I got the marks on it too. Forgive me, I'm using one hand right now. But you see the idea. We're gonna put that collar, that adapter on at a certain angle. And then we're gonna take this piece of header tube and put it up there. Alright guys, so update for the sending unit that goes in the gas tank. So apparently I got the wrong sending unit. It goes to some kind of Bel Air, 57 Bel Air, but it doesn't fit the gas tank that I have. So the way that it was shaped, I surmise it was probably for a wagon style, because it was way deeper and more extreme angles. And so me being a fabricator and a little salty, I just decided to adapt it. So right here I have this is basically the drawing. The top would be the car, the bottom would be the road. You can see where the intake is over here. And I did a little bit of the geometry, and see that is kind of where the float was, but there was too much throw, and so it wouldn't meet the little notches. So I had to get fancy with it. You see what I'm saying? So I did that, and now let's see here. You get the idea here. So I finagled it, and it doesn't look fantastic, but it'll work. So if I can do this and hold the camera, you can see that it catches both the stops. So full and empty should read correctly. And yeah, so that's the kind of tomfoolery I'm messing with. But anyway, I also made a fuel filler neck. Again, not the greatest, but I got the vent tube that will go to that vent tube, and then this sucker will set up here about like that, and then I'll have to span that gap with 1 3/4 inch fuel hose, because I can't really weld it together, because that goes underneath the frame and you'll never be able to get that out. So I want it somewhat removable, just for the next guy, or in case I overlook something and have to take it apart, the whole thing isn't welded in there, you know, because at this point it hasn't held gasoline, so welding all this stuff on it is not an issue. But at some point we're gonna have to stop it, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at. Okay, so she's in, got the seals in, she's tightened down, And just to be sure, stuck my bore scope in there, and here's a picture I took of it setting on the bottom. And the float is free to move up and down, and with the angles we've messed with, it should be fine. That's all I wanted. All that leaking is from my crappy gas can, not my crappy filler neck. All right. Oh, sorry. First 5 gallons in it. Let's try her out. Me and Captain Dan here just took it on its first spin, running on its own gas, and she was fun. We did a burnout. It was kind of pathetic, but we did it. Got some kind of knocking going on, I guess. Check the oil after that, but I managed not to find any leaks, no fuel. Uh-oh, what's that? Oh, that we did go through a puddle. Hold on, there's water. All right, well, fuel system done. I'm so happy about that. Fuel pump doing its thing. Yep, she's sucking air too. Just got to figure out what that goes to. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching my struggles with this 52 Packard. If you enjoy what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. It would really help the channel out, and I would appreciate it. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching my struggles with this 52 Packard. If you enjoy what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. It would really help the channel out, and I would appreciate it. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.